Okay, so I just want to be able to explain the idea of an attack, defense, attack, and how to build and how to create your own combinations. And so in order to do so, you want to really understand some fundamental principles, okay? So when it comes down to it, we always, for this style of training, it's not all combinations, the only way to move, but the best rubric to really try to understand is that it's always a counter rotation, right? So most people, you're always going to want to start off with a jab, a very simple movement. It can be other movements, but most combinations that you find yourself in, you're going to first jab. Okay, so from your position, I usually encourage it to be a bit of a movement before, but we're going to do this very slow, and then I'll show you a more active version. So initially, I start with my jab. Now this is my left side rotation. I'm turned into my right. So from here, my main options are going to be any of the right side movement patterns. Okay, so all my offensive tools are going to be a cross. Okay, I got an overhand, I got an uppercut. Those are my main tools. I could also go to the body if I wanted. So you got 4 different options on this side. The other option is too, all of those movements also mirror a left side defense. So I could go into a slip, right? I could go into a roll. I could also just go into a block and kind of come more neutral, but it is a little bit of a left side movement here. So let's say I went into the 1-2, okay? So 1-2, same principle applies to the opposite side movements here. So on this side, what I'm gonna wanna do is consider, okay, do I wanna throw another jab? That's also another option. You can throw a hook, you can throw an uppercut. Again, we can go to the body if we wanted, but it's all about balancing out that rotation. And you also want to go for some pretty fundamental and basic ones, because those ones are the ones that you can practice really well and not make it too complex. And if you try to make it too complex and make it about memory, that can actually slow down your learning process. Once you've actually become very familiar with all of these kind of routines, some of the more rudimentary ones like a 1-2 slip 2, then you can actually make it more complex by doing some more original ones where you go right from an offense into a defense, like a jab slip, right? And not a lot of people practice that, but that's a great tactic to go from a jab, slip, you aggravate your opponent, you get off the midline, come right back with a hook and then across. So again, this is to go from attack, going in the offense, and then going right into the defense, outside of just driving in and out, but going into a defense that's really quick and instinctive, and then going back to an offense. Okay, now one of the best things about this is the fact that you'll practice reacting after you've hit someone. And that's not what a lot of people end up doing when they're doing their programs. When they end up they just attack, and they get out sometimes, and they attack. And actually what happens is when they start to then attack in front of someone, they'll hit, hey, that hit, that's great. And they forget that right after there's a consequence, right after you have to do something else. So let's instill it in us that we're always ready to move our head, go to a block or whatever, and you can try these different variety of combinations. So again, just to show you an example of a more live version of it, of a more active version of it, I'm gonna move a little bit and build in each, kind of like building Lego or building a story, one word at a time. So I'm gonna start with moving, okay, just a little bit of movement. I go in, jab, okay, and sometimes I even just repeat that a few times. So I'll just think, okay, what do I want my offense or defense next to be? Okay, I'm gonna go from that jab, I'm gonna go slip, jab, slip, okay? And I do that 3 times at least. The reason I'm gonna do it 3 times is so that jab, slip, I'm actually really well stabilized and practicing just that jab, slip. Let's get really good at our jab and flowing into that slip really nice and natural. So I do it 3 times, 3rd time here, jab, slip. Now what makes sense here for me, I could do another slip, I could do a body shot, right? We have all these options, but just for the sake of this combo, I'm gonna decide today I'm gonna go to a hook. So right into taking that angle, getting that hook, okay? And then I'm gonna repeat it again at least 3 times. So jab, slip, hook, exaggerate the turn in your hip, exaggerate pulling your side back, bringing your right hand back as you're finishing this hook so that that hook is nice and level, looking in the mirror, making sure everything looks nice and balanced. Again, I repeat that 3 times, jab, slip, hook. Come back around, move around a little bit, try it again, jab, slip, hook. Okay, now we finish with that hook. What could I do after that? I'm finishing here. Well, it makes a lot of sense, especially if I got off the midline and I'm here, I could also go right down the pipe. I almost got a better center off of my cross there. so I could finish with a cross really easily. You could also do an uppercut if you wanted, but basically, if I wanted one more offensive tool, I just need to hit him with one more right hand. Okay, so just to see that whole combo there, jab, slip, hook, cross. Again, that could also be an uppercut, jab, slip, hook, uppercut, and come back out. Now right there, I would probably cap it just for the purpose of this one until you get really familiar and you can go into an offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, and then recover. But if you go farther than 5 or 6 movements, which is offense, defense, offense, defense, if you go a little farther than that, it's just more of a memory game for yourself, and it's going to be a lot harder because you're going to end up slowing down a lot until you're really good at just offense, defense, offense. Try not to make these combinations too long and too complex, where they're really going to focus a lot of your memory rather than building in just a set of systems that can be very instinctive. Now, I want to be able to create this skill that when I attack someone, jab, slip, hook, cross can happen very instinctive to me. It's not that I go in with the plan of the jab, slip, hook, cross. What happens more likely is that I jab someone, there's a cue from seeing some sort of a movement in their shoulders, they're probably going to throw a jab or cross right after. And then I already am comfortable with doing this, and because I've practiced this boom, boom right after so many times, that can come out in the sport itself. So we need to practice the balance, the stability, and the reaction from those movement patterns, right? And that's how we're going to do it. And so then again, you practice that, you move around with it. Once you have that, try it, boom, 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 try it at different angles, slowly build up your speed. And once you've done it really proficiently, you want to do intervals of it. 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off, repeating that. So that way, when we're actually doing it, again, we're making it, it's almost like, I always compare it to like playing guitar or music. You practice a certain chord and again and again and again until you feel like you're making music. And that's what I want. I want this to just be instinctual music for you, and you can go in and out and rip off these combos, and that's the best chance of it coming over into the actual sport. Okay, so try this out, and if you have any questions, shoot me a message.